Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the DVC Clubhouse show. I am Amy, and joined with me, as always, is Jeff.
Hey, everybody.
And today we are joined by our friend Josh. Josh, thank you so much for taking time out of your weekend to spend with us.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
So, before we get into talking about DVC, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, who you live with.
Yeah, sure. So it's my wife and I and my daughter Charlie, and she just turned 5. We live in Charleston, South Carolina. Great place to visit. Great beaches, great restaurants, everything else like that. I'm in the finance business full time, and then I'm also I'm in the Army too. So I'm a colonel in the Army Reserves. So that's kind of how we got into this whole little DVC universe.
How very cool. Very cool. I have a granddaughter named Charlie. So
Hey, it's surprising, but she goes to this little tiny preschool because she goes to kindergarten next year. But there are 3 female Charlies in that. And I was just like, when we named her Charlie, I was like, Chris, what are you trying to do to us here? And now all these girls are named Charlie. So I guess we were a little bit ahead of the curve, but we were just,
You're trendsetters.
yeah, I guess so.
And so then talked a little bit about your Disney story. Like, when did you start going to Disney or the parks?
Yes. So for me, I think I went twice when I was growing up. Mainly, I think there were school field trips. I remember going to Epcot, and I remember Body War. I guess it was Body War Wars. I think I was in like 7th grade or something like that. I thought it was a really cool, disgusting ride at the same time, but it was cool. And but I never really went a lot. Now my wife, her grandfather would take her, and so she went pretty much every single year and would stay at the Polynesian, and that was the kind of their thing. My family, we're definitely just middle class. My dad was a teacher, my mom was a nurse, and it wasn't a thing for us. So I didn't really get acquainted to it until as an adult, until I had my daughter. Um, and I'll get into that story whenever you guys are whenever you guys are ready for it.
Well, just a note about Body Wars. I feel like I'm still traumatized by that ride. It made me so. It was one of the most nauseating rides I've ever been on in my entire life. So
Yeah.
you say Body Wars, and I'm like, oh gosh.
No, I
Yeah.
remember because I remember at that time I wasn't Epcot was kind of boring, but I thought that ride was actually pretty cool. So I think I rode that like 3 or 4 times. Then I have this one other
Yeah.
memory, and I don't know if I'm just hallucinating this or what, but did you? When was Space Mountain, the original incarnation of Space Mountain? Did the trains not look like they were about to collide at one point, and then they shifted? And I've been looking for YouTube videos, and I think that might have just been a figment of my imagination, but I distinctly have that memory, and I was just kind of like,
That now that you say it, I do feel like the first time I went, the because you've got the dual tracks, and I feel like they were
yeah,
timed to kind of leave at the same time. So you'd be coming at each other, and then you would turn, and then you'd kind of be like going up that ramp at the same
yeah.
time, and then you'd come down. And you're right. I haven't thought about that, but I feel like that's what it used to be, and it's changed.
That was one of my memories, and again, memories. The older you get, the less reliable they become.
Yeah, I know. You're like, did I hallucinate that? So then, how then did you learn about DVC and get into DVC?
Yeah. So like I told you all before, in the military, so we contract like all our hotels whenever I go on TDY or travel or whatever that stuff. It's all contracted through like IHG. So I'm like an IHG platinum tier member or whatever. But we had just had, or my wife was, I think, pregnant with Charlie, and I got this like call about this free vacation, whatever. And anyways, it was, long story short, it was a timeshare pitch, but I did it anyways. And we ended up, Charlie was 11 months old for the first time we went, and we stayed at Orange Lake Resort, which is in like Kissimmee. And actually, I liked the resort, but the timeshare presentation was just, I I mean, it was just vomit inducing. Yeah, and I mean, it was like they could have given me any amount of money, and I would have never gone back. I mean, I would have been like, this is not worth it. And so then we went to stay on Disney, and like that place isn't that far from Animal Kingdom, but it's like the drive in and out and all that other stuff was kind of a bummer. So I've never really, I mean, I'm used to hotel prices, but I feel like if you're not used to Disney and then you kind of see deluxe prices, it's kind of shock. I mean, it's like literally shocking, because I was like, because the Contemporary, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, it looks cool, but they really want like $700 a night for this. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's not Ritz Carlton. That's higher than that level, and so
Yeah.
it blew me away. And so then I was like, just doing research on YouTube and everything, and looking at renting points and all this other stuff, and then eventually came across you know DVC and just looked into it. And again, it was like at the beginning, it took a while to figure out if this was going to be a good thing or not. And then I had to get my wife on board. But I was like, we've got this daughter. She loves Disney. She loves princesses. I'm going to definitely go every single year at least once, um, until she's out of high school. And then at that point, I don't know. And I am in finance, so I'm not an idiot about like timeshares and all that stuff. And I'm pretty conservative. But the more research I did, I was pretty comfortable with, hey, if I ever need to unload the contract, I could unload it and I wouldn't lose everything. It's not like it's going to be pennies on the dollar. No, so we rented points at Bay Lake Tower, and I wasn't going to buy anything until I saw it. And Riviera was obviously a thing on sale for then, but this all coincided with COVID. So the guy that I was talking to, I've never talked to him again, but they shut down the sales. So I didn't know if our trip was going to get canceled or whatever. And then I was thinking about buying them. Incentives were pretty good, but after COVID, they got way better. So we were just going to start out. I was going to buy like 175 points. I think was the best deal I could get. But then when COVID happened, they gave me like a military discount and everything else. So I think I got 150 points for like $170 a point or something like that. And I was like, hey, that's pretty good. But of course, I was ticked about the resale restrictions. But interestingly enough, now I'm irritated if and this is probably going to maybe get people mad at me, but now I'm irritated if a new hotel opens up and they don't have the resale restrictions, because I'm like, man, I'm really on an island here. Charlie said, hey.
Well, hello there.
Hi, Charlie. I feel like it's kind of like a little bit of a predicament that Disney got themselves in. As much as it's like kind of a predicament for people who want to buy Riviera, it's kind of a predicament moving forward, because to your point, it's like, how do you go back from doing something like that? But it seems like it was not a successful strategy for them, because Riviera sales have lagged, and now they've done it at Disney, at the Disneyland hotel, at the villas at the Disneyland hotel, but that's a different beast. Inventory is so limited there that I don't think that that's going to be something that's going to stop people. And because there are so few properties out, out there at Disney World, you just go to the resale market and you can pick whatever resort you want.
But now that's interesting, the Disneyland thing, because I've been following that fairly closely. But the inventory's low, but they rolled that thing out, and it was not a great. It doesn't seem to be a great rollout. Like the point, and then that this tax, this $3 per point tax that you have to use if you stay there. So I was kind of like, I heard anecdotally that Village of Grand Villas of Grand that the Grand Californian have been selling out like crazy on resale now, and the price spiked. So
Well, I'll chime in here about the Disneyland hotel. So, as I've mentioned about 1,000 times, we're moving to Orlando. And some of our equity from this house I have had earmarked for months to buy at Disneyland Hotel. Disneyland's my home resort. That's where I've gone since I was 3 years old. I'm not paying $330 a point for a Grand California contract. And so I've been really, really excited. And the rollout of this, I'm not doing it. I'm not buying there. I'm going to add on at the Poly when they open that new tower, because it was just Disneyland to stay on property is already expensive. We don't. We always stay across the street at Harbor or Catella or one of those other, stop and robs across the street, because you're actually closer than a lot of the Disney hotels there. And the reason we don't stay at Disneyland Hotel is because it's $400 or $500 a night. Well, I'm not going to spend $30,000 on a contract and still spend $300 or $400 a night.
Yeah.
Doesn't make
Sure.
any sense at all.
No, that's and I guess they didn't have that issue with and I get it. I guess it's an Anaheim thing, but somehow the Grand California, they rolled it into the points, which is a little more palatable. So I don't know, man. Yeah, that's crazy. But I was at least happy that they have resale restrictions for my
Yeah.
tiny worldview.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I mean, I also feel like those Grand California and villas at Disneyland, they are targeting people who live on the West Coast. And I think for
Yeah.
people who live in California, that tax might not be as shocking because it's kind of a way of life for them, to have that tax added onto things. But for those of us who intend to spend our points primarily at Disney World, it feels like, like why would I do that
Yeah.
then? I had thought also maybe I would buy a small contract if I was able to buy 25 points. It's like that's what I was thinking, like I would add on 25 points because I could go every 3 years and then I would have 75 points to
Yeah.
use in a studio. But I
I didn't even look at the point charts. Were they compelling, or were they not that?
No, they're pretty high, honestly. I'll pull them up right now.
mean, honestly, if while you look at that, as I was looking at the points chart, I was thinking for myself because I have older kids. I have a daughter who's about to go to college in the fall, and I have a daughter who's is going to be going into her sophomore year. So I was thinking I would probably get that duo studio and
Yeah.
do like a solo trip because the
Yeah.
points chart for a duo studio is kind of comparable. I feel like to what like an average studio is at Disney World. And so I
Yeah.
could go out there and, do 2 or 3 nights in a duo studio. Because they are, I mean, Grand California, the points are kind of high too.
So 20, 23, 24 points for a duo studio. They're between 13 and 22 points a night.
And that's the same thing as the Tower Studio, right? The Duo Studio.
Basically, yeah.
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 Deluxe studio, 17 to 28 points a night. One bedroom jumps to from 36 to 54.
Okay.
So I mean, I guess it's not out of the realm of what we've seen elsewhere, but you still have to add on that tax. So it is a lot more. It is a lot more because even Alani has that transient tax, but it's no more than you'd pay for a resort fee in Vegas. Like it's 30 or $40 a night or something. That's reasonable to me.
I think that it's more palatable at Aulani because Aulani, you spend time at the resort. You do
Yeah,
things at the resort. If you're staying at the villas at Disneyland Hotel, you're going to the parks all day. You're not there to vacation at the hotel. You're there to vacation at Disneyland. At Aulani, you're there. You're there to vacation at the resort. Maybe you'll go off property a couple times, but you feel like you can justify this resort fee,
Yeah.
like if you regard it in that way based on what you're getting. But at Disneyland Hotel, you're getting a room and a pool with a water slide and, Trader Sam's.
Yeah. Wow. No, so Jeff, you're holding off is basically you're holding off on.
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah.
and now, I mean, with the announcement of, people probably think that I'm crazy because I know that it was so divisive, this announcement with the Fort Wilderness one, but that is very intriguing to me. So I don't know. I'm kind of Just kind of paying attention, keeping my options open.
Yeah, see, it's strange to me that, and I guess it's and I've looked at the I mean, if you look at the economics of it, it probably does make sense to refurb those cabins with member money, with DVC money. But it's like that's gonna be a lot of properties on sale at the same time, and we're telegraphing like this is the slowest recession ever that's about to happen. You know what I mean? And
Well, and I'm actually with Amy on this. I would have been concerned if they would have announced that, hey, we're just going to refurb these cabins and
yeah,
relaunch them as DVC. But it sounds like it's a whole tear down rebuild because they're
yeah, it
building
looks like it.
350 of them or something like
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah, no, that's what it looks like. It looks cool too. I mean, I've never stayed at Fort Wilderness. I'm not opposed to. See, my wife's deal though is like she likes to have transportation that's not a bus, and I know you can take the boat, but you've got to get to the boat ramp, and I just don't know how unless we rent a golf cart, which would be cool too. I mean, I'd be down with that.
That's Amy's number one thing. She's going to call DVC and make them put her name on the side of it like they do on fighter jets. It's
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
be
yeah,
I'm actually going to see if they will name the golf cart rental center after me. Just put my name, at least put my name on one of the golf cart. I mean, my face on one of the golf carts.
That'd be a World of DVC sponsor opportunity.
Fort Wilderness is a unique experience. Actually, when we get down there, I'm actually thinking of actually like renting an RV and camping just
Yeah.
to say that I've done it and to try it. But we bounce over there all the time for Magic Kingdom to do
Well,
hoop do or stuff like that. So
I've,
I
I've
think it's
never
a
done
cool
hoop
idea.
de doo because we haven't had any luck. But last time when we were at Magic Kingdom, this was in January. My daughter wanted to go horseback riding, and that thing was awesome. The Tricircle D, and it was not expensive either. Like it was a really good deal. It was like $16, and she got to ride a pony, and my nephew got to ride an actual horse, and they loved every bit of that. And it's just like relaxing over there too.
Yeah. I feel like, again, I mean, just like Jeff has mentioned a million times that he's moving, I've mentioned a million times that I've been a DVC member for 21 years. Um, but I've been a DVC member for a very long time. I've stayed at every DVC resort. I have done like so many different types of DVC vacations, and my kids are getting older. So for me, the notion of being able to use my points to stay over there, I'm not a person who is like led by the parks anymore.
Yeah,
I'm there to take a vacate to experience a vacation. So I'm really drawn to the resorts that are not like in the thick of things. So like that's why I love Old Key West.
yeah,
I really love Saratoga Springs because I can feel removed from like the craziness of the parks and feel like I'm getting a vacation. And when I was there in December to do the holiday carriage ride, I was like, this is totally my speed. I loved being over there, just sitting there. We got dinner from the quick service there and sat outside just watching the people go by. Then
yeah,
we took the carriage ride through the grounds, and it was just awesome, and it was so peaceful. It just felt like, to me, like there are just certain places when you're on Disney property where you're like, gosh, I feel like I'm on vacation versus
yeah,
feeling like I'm at Disney World. Like there's a
yeah,
distinction, like everybody knows that when you go to Disney World and you do the parks every day from rope drop to park close, when you get home, you feel like you're dead. Like your feet hurt, you're exhausted. And so I'm really drawn to the types of vacations and experiences at Disney World that give me an opportunity to just relax and kind of disconnect. And I feel like those cabins are it for me. So anyway,
Well, and to add on a little bit of Disney history here for you, there's how do I word this? So I just got that new National Geographic book that talks about 100 Disney trips for the 100 years.
yeah,
And one of the things in that book that they mention is Fort Wilderness is actually the only place that Walt and Roy walked that property
I saw,
together.
yeah, the ferry boat guy that took us over told us that, and that, like,
Yeah.
Walt just walked off apparently during that whole the whole survey thing in a swamp in Florida. So it was pretty cool. No, I love the history of kind of like Walt Disney World and everything else too. It's pretty fascinating to me.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, so let's get back to you. So you own it, Riviera.
Yeah. That's the only contract we
Um,
have right now. That's the only contract
okay.
we have
And
at the moment.
so
So
which of the resorts have you stayed at?
okay, so we've stayed at Grand Floridian, Riviera, Bay Lake Tower, Polynesian. We're staying at. I'm excited to stay at Boulder Ridge now. I had to convince my wife to. I actually kind of switched up a reservation just because I think I'd like Wilderness Lodge. I liked when I visited it, but I wasn't ready to pull the trigger there. Um, and we stayed at Beach Club. Not the villas though. We actually this was our trip last year. We stayed on the club level, and that was nice. But the rooms were not anything. I mean, I guess if you're used to DVC, like the hotel rooms are kind of they were kind of disappointing. Made up for it with the free mimosas every morning though. So, so I was I was pretty happy. So I've not stayed at Boardwalk. I've not stayed at Saratoga, Old Key West, Animal Kingdom Lodge, either one, um, or Copper Creek or Hilton Head, Vero.
So do you have a bucket list of things that you want to do, or are you just kind of booking and taking what's available and
Well, I mean, I guess bucket list, but I don't really care that much. I mean, the cabins would be cool at Copper Creek, I guess, but I don't really care that much about it. I like two bedrooms, one bedrooms. I like studio. I mean, I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to that. The only thing like I told you before, our big thing and a big point of contention. Well, I'll probably never stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge, at least for the foreseeable future. Saratoga Springs or Old Key West is my my wife just cannot stand bus loops, and she and what and so I hear people talk about Riviera all the time, like it's a moderate adjacent and all this other stuff. But I actually really love the location of Riviera, and I love the fact that the bus, even to Magic Kingdom, there's never a wait there because the hotel is so small. It's just so compact and small that the transportation to me is awesome. Except when the Skyliner goes down, if it's like lightning outside and all that and all that other stuff. But even then, I've had that happen. The buses seem pretty adaptable. The only problem is it's like if the Skyliner goes down and you're like at the international gateway, then you got to truck it all the way back to the to the front gate.
yeah, that's when I just would walk to Beach Club and catch an Uber.
Yeah, that's probably the smarter thing to do.
I'm a huge and I feel like it's ridiculous because there's so much free transportation on Disney property, but I actually use Lyft more than I use Uber, but I use rideshare
Oh wow.
services frequently when I'm staying on
Yeah.
property, particularly because I do a lot of resort trips, so I resort hop a lot, and it just makes it so much quicker to get from point A to point B.
And I've gotten in the habit lately, because we've been down there house shopping and stuff, that I've just been driving. Like, it
Yeah.
is so nice to exit the park and just go to my car and not have to deal with any of it. Like,
No, and to me that's not a big deal because I kind of we always drive down there, so I always have a car. But it is kind of nice, like especially if I have a pretty good time when I'm at Hollywood Studios at Epcot or whatever. I don't want to have
sure,
to worry about I don't have to
that's a
worry about
valid point.
trucking everybody around. Um,
I guess I should say I drive to Animal Kingdom. I think that's actually the only one I ever do.
no, Animal Kingdom, and I normally if I drive, I'll drive to Animal Kingdom and sometimes Hollywood Studios because it seems to be pretty easy to get in and out of there if you need to.
I typically Animal Kingdom is typically one that I take a lift to all the time because and even the times when I have had a car, because to the point of having a good time, I think there is a great time to be had at Animal Kingdom. I'm a big fan of Nomad Lounge. The bar at Yak and Yeti is a lot of fun. So I want to
Oh
make
no, I
sure that
mean
I'm
I
getting
love it.
home.
I mean, That's the only drawback for me. It's like Magic Kingdom. I love Magic Kingdom, and my daughter obviously loves Magic Kingdom and the princesses and everything. But I mean, I don't know. I might be a borderline alcoholic or whatever. But I'm just kind of like, dude, I need to get back to the room, get a drink. I understand the history behind the castle parks, but they've made enough concessions that let's just let it, Epcot Junior or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's nice to be on the monorail loop though when you're at Magic Kingdom when you're just like, I need a midday refresher. Let me just hop on the
Yeah,
monorail and head over. I like to or take the boat over. I like to take a stop off at the Polynesian midday, take a break, maybe get a Dole Whip,
no,
maybe a cocktail,
yeah, no, definitely, and that probably brings it up to y'all's next point though. It's like we're probably going to add another contract, and I mean I think 300 points for our family would be about perfect, just because that'd give us the room type we wanted. And then I'm just really torn about because I like the Poly. I love the Poly. My wife loves it. She's got a lot of nostalgia there, and I like the studios. I mean, I thought they were great. I mean, and we only got three. I take my nephew with us all the time, but our family's only going to be three people, so we're not having any more kids. But this new Poly Tower, I'm just so torn, and I'll probably end up buying into it regardless of the association. I'm probably buying. I mean, it's like as soon as Disney did that, I just cannot see myself picking up a resale contract because I have FOMO, and I and I just hate the fact that I would have one contract that's not available at all the different resorts. And that's what makes me mad, but I'm but you play with the rules you're given, I guess. Um, but I have no idea what's going to happen with this Poly Tower and what the point charts are going to look like. I'm sure they're going to be high, just like the Riviera, just like the Grand Floridian. Everybody talks about the Riviera's point charts, and they are high. But the one thing I'd say is like the standard view Riviera rooms. That's that's a pretty good deal because you literally get fireworks every single night. And, and I just feel sorry for the people that get preferred that pay more to see nothing.
yeah.
And that's just
I've I've heard a lot of people who have gotten preferred rooms complain about what they were looking at.
I just wonder because it's like if the Bay Lake Tower theme park rooms you still see in a parking lot. I mean, yeah, I get it. It's you get the fireworks at night, but I mean that's 15, and that's what it is at the Riviera too. It's like we were in a 2 bedroom a couple years ago, and I mean it was awesome every single night because we were high enough up. You request a higher floor, and the point charge was not. It wasn't that It wasn't that terrible.
Yeah, I'm a person who rails against the Riviera point chart, but I think again it's because I bought into DVC at a time when the points charts were only
Oh sure,
from Old Key West, Boulder Ridge, Boardwalk, and Beach Club, and and even Beach Club felt like a little rich for my blood because you could get a standard view at Boardwalk for much less. So
yeah.
I, as they started building these new resorts and the points charts were so high, I was like, I don't have enough points to stay at these places. Like I had ample points for the
Yeah,
four that existed when I bought. But then they started building these, when they opened Bay Lake Tower, I was like, oof, that's a lot. And then they just kept getting higher. So I eventually caved and added a small contract because I needed more points.
it's the trend going forward. I don't think they're going to give us a break on any point charts anytime soon.
Yeah,
No.
wait till 2042 when they repackage Boardwalk and Beach Club.
Yeah.
Amy's going to be looking for a new hobby.
Well, I found it. That's why I've fallen in love with the Disney Cruise Line. So I guess I'll just throw my
You're
money at
all
the
set.
cruise and
Yeah, yeah.
bon voyage
I mean,
to DVC. I know, because I'm concerned about 2042 because I think at that point, they're going to have to do something because it really is it's illogical that Boardwalk has such a low points chart compared to like Riviera. I mean,
yeah,
while Riviera might be on the Skyliner, you can literally walk to Boardwalk and Hollywood Studios from Boardwalk. I mean, to Epcot and Hollywood Studios from Boardwalk. So you know, uh, uh, it's it's wild that how low that is compared to some of the newer resorts. So
Oh well, I mean, I don't think they really were great at knowing what they were doing back then either.
I mean, I don't know if they're great about knowing what they're doing now. So we just we're at the mercy of whoever is in making decisions
Yeah,
at the moment,
no,
and
that's right.
there
That's
doesn't seem
definitely
to
right.
be a lot, like there was never a long-term strategy, it seems. So it's just like whoever takes over like has an idea of what they're going to do, and then we're all at the the mercy of that person's decision making. So we'll see. So you live in Charleston. You said you would never go to Hilton Head because you're just not interested in Hilton Head because you're
I
close
mean,
to the
it
beaches
just
there.
yeah.
But would you use your points to stay off of Disney property at some point, do you think?
I don't think so. I don't really. I would just pay cash, probably. I mean, because that was the one thing. Again, that's the one thing. It's like you got to have some kind of value for it. And I think the points you pay at Disney are, I mean, your best value is probably at Disney World. Until I get tired of it, I mean, it's so nice not to have a bill at the end.
Yeah,
I do have a bill because that Magic Band is literally magical. You just, it's always
I
kind of
know.
shocking too.
You always have the day of reckoning, the moment of reckoning when you
I
get
mean,
your
it's just
bills
like,
slid under your door. You're like, oh God.
it's just wild. I mean, it is literally wild how that was the first time I was ever annoyed on a trip was this last time because we just built a house and anytime you're building a house you're just spending a ton of money. But we went down and stayed at Bay Lake Tower and my nephew and my daughter are asking me for stuff all the time and I was just like, guys, you're just like little money vampires. We just got to stop for a second. And then but then at that time too I felt like I've been feeling like Disney is just literally just nickel and diming you for everything and it was getting to the point where I was actually fairly annoyed, but it's still I don't know. Then I see my daughter with the princesses, and I'm a sucker for that.
I felt that way, and then I went to Universal, and I felt super nickel and dimed there. So I was like,
Oh yeah,
and I know, and that's a debate for another time because I know some people love Universal, but when I was there, I was like, okay, get me back to the Disney bubble. I need to be back.
and what I like about Disney is, especially at the resorts, and especially staying on site, is you can go to the pool and there's like 20 lifeguards, and I'm sure Universal's the same way. But I never feel stressed about where the kids are, with the exception of the one time I stayed at Beach Club, and I know everybody loves Stormalong Bay, but I do not like the way that slide is set up there. Because you're kind of like one area and then they don't let you hang out with the slide. And then my nephew's running and that's why I completely lost eyes on him. And I know because you have to go through that kind of main thoroughfare. So that's the one knock I had about Beach Club was the water slide. The water slide's great though. I mean, it's a great slide. It's just the location wasn't my favorite.
Well, and one thing about Stormalong too is that lazy river will swallow a large. It'll swallow a large whale, let alone your children. Like that thing is so deep.
I mean, I've never been on a lazy river where you're just not touching the whole time. That was back. I guess that was back in the day too.
Yeah, that Stormalong Bay. I own a beach club, and I stay at beach club more now than I did when my kids were littler. Because it wasn't as awesome as it is, like having, that Stormalong Bay is not a place where you feel comfortable to just be like, okay, go ahead, kids, because there's also like there are so many structures in the way where you can't see, like you don't have like a vantage
Yeah,
point of the whole area. So you have to like stay on top of your kids the whole time. So we used
yeah,
to stay at Boardwalk all the time because that pool, you could sit and you could see the entire pool, you could see the slide. You just felt more comfortable with your kids just kind of going.
yeah,
So I go there now, and I love water slides, and that is an awesome water slide. So I do agree though. It is like, when they built Beach Club, Boardwalk wasn't there. It wasn't, that area was not as trafficked. So
yeah,
if you were crossing that walkway, it was to get to the water slide. Now it's like a main thoroughfare for people to get
yeah.
where they're going. Um But the thing that annoys me about it is that you don't want to wear your like flip-flops over there because you're going down the slide and then you're so far. But so you have to walk barefoot across that walkway and it's
I
like
think it's
kind of
hot. In the
gravelly and
summertime, it's hot.
yeah, it's hot and like things stick into your feet. So at
Well, the
least
other
you
thing,
should put those plastic like pads on the floor that you could like cross over or something so that you're not killing your feet. But
and I can't remember. Don't you have to wear a wristband too? Like your magic
Yeah.
band? It's just a little bit. I don't know. To me, the security was just a little tough. For if I want to go grab a beer, I got to go. I felt like I had to go out to get a beer and then come back in. And if I
true.
forgot something in the room, then it was just it wasn't as magical as I thought it was going to be. I thought the sand bottom pool was just going to transform my life, but it didn't really have that effect. It didn't have that effect on me. In fact, I got a bunch of stuff in my swimming, and I was like, "This is not my fave." I mean, I was just like,
This is going to be a stupid question, but I don't actually know the answer to this. Does Beach Club have a quiet pool like all the others? I've never seen it, so
the DVC one does, don't they?
okay.
Well, there is also a quiet pool at the beach club, like in the hotel part.
Where
I
is it?
actually
Like,
really, it's so I think, when you walk out of Epcot and before you get, where the volleyball net is that you pass?
hmm
It's before that. Like you pass a building that, and then it's on and there's like a white fence. It's on the other side of that, like set back. Um,
never
but the
paid attention.
DVC, I actually really love the DVC pool at Beach Club because it is very like most people like to hang out at Stormalong Bay. So the DVC pool is very, very laid back. So, I mean, clearly so much closer to your room than Stormalong Bay, where you feel like you're kind of packing up. Like if you're going to the pool, it's like you're packing up for a couple hours to go and like set
Yeah,
up shop there. Whereas if I go to the DVC pool, it's just like I just run down. If I need to go up and grab something, I can get it within minutes. Um, and as for people who watched our DVC Resorts at Christmas video, and if you haven't, and you're starting to think about making your Christmas plans, you should definitely take a look at that video. We can link it below. But the DVC pool at Beach Club was one of the only pool areas that was decorated for Christmas, which I thought was pretty cool
oh,
too.
cool.
So that when you go to
That's
the
cool.
pool, you've got like a Christmas vibe going on.
Yeah, nice.
So we always talk to people about, we're all always talk about what we love and how great DVC is and our vacations are, but we all have memories that do not make our highlight reel. So do you have any sort of Disney vacation that when that has become family lore, that something went wrong and now you can look back and laugh at it?
Oh no, no, yeah. Every single vacation has a moment like that. But the one that really, and I don't want to get my father-in-law in too much trouble, but this has nothing to do with Disney. So my daughter, the last trip we went on, when we were staying at Beach Club as a big family, we my father-in-law insisted on keeping my daughter while we all rode Expedition Everest at Animal Kingdom, and she did not want mommy or daddy to leave her, and we knew this was a bad idea. But he got so pig-headed at the time, he was just like, "No, I've got this. I've got this." So we go, and we had fast passes or whatever, or lightning lane, whatever they call it. And so it didn't take us but 10 minutes. But by the time we came back, she is soaking wet, and he is not in a good mood. And we're like, "What in the world happened?" And so he took a video of it where she was like pitching a fit because she wanted to be next to her mom and dad, and he was not having it. So he like tied her up, like really buckled her up hard in the stroller so she couldn't get out. And anyway, she got out, and then he thought to calm her down, it would be a good idea to like dump water on her head.
Oh,
So he just dumps this thing of water on her head, and that had the opposite effect. I'm not a psychologist, but I can tell you that was not gonna work. But so, anyways, it's really bad, and my father-in-law is yelling at my daughter or my wife, and because my wife will will dig a needle in if she knows she was right about something. And so anyways, this janitor or this custodian came up from the animal kingdom. I thought we were going to get kicked out. And he just asked us if we were all right, because it looked like, I mean, I don't know what it looked like. It did not look good, though. There
Chaos.
were meltdowns. There were grown adults melting down. My child was melting down. Everything was happening. But, it took about 5 minutes, and everybody, we got a beer or something like that. And then everything was good to go after that. But that was the one that sticks out. But there's always a moment. There's
Oh yeah,
definitely a
there's always
moment.
a Disney meltdown at some point on a Disney trip. I mean, somebody's gonna have a meltdown at some point.
Yeah. So
I thought for sure you were going to tell me that he took her on Cali River Rapids while you guys were on Everest, but nope.
no. He wouldn't have been able to find Cali River. He can find. He wouldn't have been able to find it. He needed to stand
Oh
in
my
that
god.
one spot. But no, that was the one. That was the one issue. And then, yeah, I think that's about it. That's other than that, there's always a meltdown, and when it's just my wife and I that take the kids, and we never have an issue. But it's like the more adults you put into a situation, the more complicated things get, the more scheduling tough, schedules get tough because people are tired, and adults are just as bad as the kids when they get tired. I mean,
I think we need to start a new series, Amy, where we keep track of these folks, and then in 20 years we reconnect with them, because I want to see how Josh handles his teenagers. Talk about being money vampires and meltdowns. Like 15 years from now, this is going to be a whole different but awesome conversation.
It's funny though, the thing is now it's like my nephews, and we always, I don't know how we got into this thing. We take him, his parents just send him along, and so it's like he's always gotten to go. And him and Charlie love each other, but they also get in fights all the time too. And I think I sent you the picture. The little blonde kid's not mine. That's the blonde boy. That's my nephew. But anyways, he can count now. He's a good little mathematician. So now, instead of, I'm just like, hey, Wills, I'm giving you some money. When that runs out, so we get to Disney Springs the last time, and he just sees this goofy like hoodie. It's like tie dye and everything. He's like, I gotta have that. I was like, well, Wills, I'll give you a DVC discount, but the thing's like $90. When you're out of money, you're out of money. And he seemed okay with that. He bought his one big purchase, and then he was cool. So I think that's gonna be a temporary, go to.
Oh yeah.
But my daughter can't
Well,
count, so.
and also, I mean, I have not shared this before on any of these videos, but last summer in July, I took both my daughters, and they each brought a friend with them to Disney. We were there for I think 6 nights, and it was like hotter than the surface of the sun during that trip.
Yeah.
I had COVID like 3 weeks before, and I still I mean, I was fine, but I still just wasn't feeling great. Like I didn't feel like myself. I was like totally drained, and being in the heat was not great. And we were in Epcot one day, and the 4 of them were just kind of, they were being teenage girls, and they thought that they knew better. They thought they knew the quickest ways to get from point A to point B, and could feel like I could feel myself getting to a point where I was like, this is not going to be good. This is not going to be good. I'm getting annoyed. And I was like, you know what? These girls are 15 and 17 years old. I'm leaving. I'm just leaving. So I'm walking, and they're kind of, doing their thing and like having attitude. And I just turned around and I said, you know what? I'm leaving. And I just went and I got on the monorail, and we were staying at Grand Floridian. Got on the monorail, went back to the room, took a shower, got myself dressed, went to Enchanted Rose, had a drink and some truffle fries, and everything was right in my world again. And I was like, you know what? Toddlers need a bottle and a nap. Adults need a shower, a martini, and truffle fries, and everything will be okay. So, we all have our moments of meltdown, and at least I had the awareness to know if I don't extract myself from the situation, I will be the person that a cast member is coming up and being like, ma'am, is everything all right over here? So do you
Well,
have go ahead.
I was just gonna say we let our daughter take a friend this last trip too. It was spring break, and she, two 17-year-old girls. The amount of times I had to stop for them to do a dance in front of their camera was really disconcerting to me. I was like, "We have a reservation at Be Our Guest. Oh no, we have to stop and do this TikTok first." I'm like, I can't.
That's the whole thing. Like, I don't. I know we're going long. So, but the
Oh, no,
the
you're fine.
dinner
You're totally
reservations
fine.
now too. It's like that was another thing. My father-in-law, that little sunglass hut across from I think it's actually a sunglass hut across from the Jungle Cruise. Well,
Uh-huh.
we had like all of a sudden my father-in-law decided he needed sunglasses, and I had a reservation somewhere, and it was like, and then we had a lightning lane for the Jungle Cruise, but that thing ended up taking like 30 minutes. But I was like, the stress of getting to these dining reservations is too much. I don't even like it anymore. And I've been to the first couple times we went, we'd go to like Cinderella's Royal Table and all the little hot spots, but now I just kind of like go with the flow, and it makes it so much easier because I'm always the one planning everything, and then I get annoyed at everybody else that they don't care. It's like, oh, I've got to spend 35 minutes looking at sunglasses. Well, I didn't plan on going to literally the Magic Kingdom to buy sunglasses.
And I guess it wouldn't go over. And I guess it wouldn't go over well if you just said, "I'm leaving," and went to Enchanted Rose and got yourself a drink.
No, but that's basically where we were. We were going to the Poly, but I mean, I was just like,
I don't think your wife would
what
have
in the world?
appreciated it though if you were just like, "All right, peace out."
No, 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 no. That wouldn't have happened. That's not
Yeah.
allowed.
So, is there anything that you want to share with our audience about your DVC experience? Any wisdom that you have gleaned from your experience that you think would be useful?
I think everybody pretty much says the same thing. It's like it is different because I've always a rope drop person, but then after we get everything done, I don't have to stay in the parks all day. We go back and we kind of just chill out, and right now we're still pretty park centric as much as we can be because of the kids. But as they grow older, I just really like. For some reason, it just brings back my wife and I's very first trip to Disney with our daughter, who wasn't even a year old. It was just very special, and I don't see that going away, no matter what Disney does to me. They try, they definitely try to make me not a fan sometimes, but it's a really cool place, and it's a place where it's just even the value may not be there. The DVC value is there, and again, we're going to buy another contract. I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen because I want to kind of be on that Magic Kingdom side. So we have one, and I'm happy with the Riviera. I actually like that location, so I'm not tempted to go anywhere else. But I do want to be on the Magic Kingdom side. But no, it's nice, and if you ever need to, if you ever do get tired of it, at least you have options to get out of the contract. So I mean, it is a no brainer. I'm a big fan, and it's wild that there's an actual community based around a timeshare. That's not like a bunch of lawyers trying to get people out of their timeshares. You know what I mean?
It's not a support group.
I mean, it's kind of a support group, but it's also. But we say that all the time. We say that all the time that buying a timeshare contract has led to some really amazing friendships and some
Yeah.
connections, and I'd have never thought. I know nobody that owns RCI. We don't have a group.
No. No, but hey, thanks for what you guys do. Great. I mean, it's fun. I enjoy hearing everybody else's stories, and there's a lot of laughs along the way too.
Very cool. Well, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to join us, and thank you for your service as well.
Oh, no problem.
I might call you Colonel next time I see you. So
Yeah, just
I
call
did
me.
actually have a question. Have you ever stayed at Shades of Green?
So, well, I couldn't get my wife to commit to that, but I wanted to. um, except, the military, the whole thing, I'm in it. I like it, but I'm in the reserves, and I've been deployed and I've done all that stuff. But it's like sometimes I want to get away from them. I kind of like to get away from the military, and to me seemed like not a great thing. And then I'll never stay there now that they're closing down the walkway to the Poly.
Yeah.
Because that was the whole thing. I always wanted to do it. And that's the interesting calculation about the annual passes coming back too, because I still get my military passes that are a pretty decent deal. So and I can get, for our family, I can get, it's at least 2 trips worth of passes for about $300 a piece. So I don't know if the calculation is going to be worth it for an AP. So I'm glad they're selling them again though.
I've had quite a few friends that have stayed at Shades of Green, and they the general consensus is it's nice. They take care of their military members, but it's not a Disney hotel. There's a hard line that the food's just okay. It's not Disney provided,
I mean,
my sister wants to come out and see us this fall and her husband's in the Air Force, and
yeah,
he really wants to stay there. And I'm like, or just give me the money that you were going to spend at Shades of Green, and I'll put you up in a really nice 1-bedroom villa. And
the only time I was going to do it, it's like we have a very set. I always stay at the Holiday Inn at Disney Springs the night we arrive, just to like, because I'm not spending the day I arrive. I normally don't spend it at Disney because it's like I can get that hotel for $200 or something versus whatever it's going to cost to stay at the Riviera. But I wanted to do that at Shades of Green, and I almost did it one time, and then it canceled just because I wanted to check it out. I mean, I like it, and you get all the deluxe perks, except talking about buses, and they're the Shades buses. So if they take that Poly walkway off, then you're going to have to take the freaking bus to get dropped off at the transportation and ticket center just to get to the monorail if you can't walk to the monorail. I mean, that's terrible.
yeah.
So that's my hope for staying there is sadly it's probably not going to happen. No.
Well, Jeff, is there anything that you want to add, or any other thing you'd like to say?
Nope. I said my thank yous. I think we're good.
All right, thank y'all. I really appreciate the time.
And thank you everyone for watching. Just as a reminder, if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Hit the notification button so that you get notified when we are posting new videos, and be sure to comment and like. And if you don't belong to our Facebook group, head over there to DVC Clubhouse. Check us out on Instagram and TikTok. And until next time, we will DVC you real soon. Bye, everyone.